Hello Giants fans, welcome to Giants Baseball 101. I'm Gabe Vaughn, your host. The Giants lost to the Padres today 7-5. Alex Cobb pitched 2 innings and gave up 4 runs. Not good for him at all. He might be what you'd call a swing player, if I may, which means that his good performance or lack thereof could mean a whole lot for the Giants in 2023, and that it's going to be hard to precisely predict it. He wasn't as good as maybe we could have wanted in 2022. I mean, his ERA was below 400, but I just think there are a lot of times he started and kind of didn't get the job done when the Giants kind of needed him to, although it has been speculated that in 2022, Cobb just kind of had a tough luck on balls that were hit into play. Sometimes balls that should have been outs, the defense failed to convert into outs, and that's always tough for a pitcher. And if Cobb was disproportionately affected by that in 2022, then you can conclude that very likely, his performance should have been better. And the Giants' defense was a serious problem in 2022. Hopefully, it'll be improved in 2023. By the way, that is an area that we're just kind of going to have to see how it goes. If they did enough, if they were able to successfully upgrade their defense, they need to keep those ground balls in the infield, and the outfield, things have got to go well in the outfield as well. So Cobb, not a good performance, but again, hopefully he just needs to settle in. You'll probably hear me saying that quite a bit. Ross Stripling relieved Cobb and pitched 2 innings. He pitched well, 2 scoreless innings. Taylor Rogers got a scoreless inning in as well. So if Alex Cobb could, have good luck and continue to throw good pitches, and if he could turn himself into maybe a third, what we can put in the category of good above average pitcher, and kind of join Logan Webb and Ross Stripling, and the Giants could have at least those 3 pitchers where nothing goes wrong and you can expect a good performance out of each one of them at pretty much every start. There'll be some disappointing days, but you can reasonably expect it. I think the rotation's going to look pretty good. And Alex Wood, it's just hard to tell. He had a really disappointing 2022 season, so it's hard to say what we should expect out of him. Anthony DeSclafani will almost certainly not be in top form upon his return, since he had season-ending surgery, and that's just kind of an issue there. But I do think he is expected to be in the Giants rotation when he does come back. Now on the offensive side, Joey Bart had 2 hits today, a double and a home run. Great sign from him. Bart definitely has those tools. He can hit for power. He can really swing that bat and drive pitches into great places. The thing for him is just going to be to get some kind of consistency with that bat, because at the end of the day, what really matters is a guy's performance, a guy's overall performance by the numbers, and that's something that's been down for Bart, even though he's shown flashes of potential. And his tools, the tools he was drafted for, they have played out in the major leagues before, just not consistently enough to where his overall numbers are good. That's what you judge a player by. His overall numbers are what it really boils down to, and if it's not good, whether it's because he has some hot streaks and some cold ones that more than canceled him out, or just because his less than mediocre performance is kind of spread out over a period of time. At the end of the day, I think if you have, and really I don't know if one's better than the other, there are probably ways to look into it, but I think at the end of the day, if your overall numerical performance is not looking good, then you've got a problem. And Bart, he still has to develop as a player, and he needs to get to being the guy that the Giants drafted him for. But what's good to see is that the tools that he has with the bat, that power, is there. And the Zips projection, I read, states that Bart's expected to strike out this year in about a third of his plate appearances, which is not good at all. So obviously gaining consistency for Bart will include trying to kind of eliminate some of the holes that he obviously has in his swing some of his strikeout liability there and vulnerability. And it could just mean, plate discipline and pitch selection, or just seeing the bat. And he did say something about his just refining his swing approach so that he'll be ready for different pitches. I forget exactly what it was. It's on the Giants website if you want to read it, but he's basically talking about what he did with his swing, and I think that's a good thing for him, and maybe that should heighten our expectations a little bit if he is likely to be able to eliminate some of these holes by just whatever he needs to do to his mechanics and without compromising his power. I think just whatever he needs to do to his swing mechanics should get done there. David Villar still doesn't have a hit, and I'm not super concerned about that, like as far as what I would expect from him as a prospect. Obviously, the sample size is still so small right now. Our ability to judge anything, such a small sample size right now. And I'm not getting concerned that David Villar is going to come in real cold this year, but I do wonder if he needs to feel any pressure about his starting third base job. I mean, if Casey Schmidt continues to stay hot, then I don't know how it would really turn out. Evan Longoria's gone, so there's room obviously for both those guys on the big league roster, but still you're talking about who has the starting job, and that's pretty much the open question there. Now, to kind of continue with what I was saying yesterday about just a lot of the Giants' past and having prospects that come to the majors and just do not make a consistent impact, it's not limited to pitching. I mentioned pitchers that have been just significant, detrimental disappointments, but on the offensive side too, you've seen guys like Steven Duggar and Mauricio Dubon come up, and they're just not. And they were telling us those were guys to get excited about. And I think certainly they showed off some good defense, but I don't think it really compensated for the lack of offensive performance on their parts. Those are just a couple of examples. So who's really to blame for kind of, the Giants' disappointing realities with prospects? And you could apply this to Eliot Ramos as well, although just like 20 plate appearance or so, I think it was 23 that he had in 2022. Very small sample size, not enough to judge anything at all until we see him have more time in the big leagues and more at-bats maybe this spring training, particularly when it's against major league pitching. But I'm just saying, all in all, that just these examples of prospects who have come to the majors for the Giants that not turned out the way they would have liked, who's to blame for all that? That's a tough question to answer. It should be clear that scouting and player development, while they are closely related, they're two different things. Scouting is basically the acquisition of talent, and player development is that, at least in relation to amateur ball players, is turning prospects into legitimate ready major leaguers. There could be a defect in either of those things. Do I know where it is? No, and I am concerned about some of the Giants' scouting procedures that they've held to, such as, for example, they're just kind of going for a lot on the basis of quantity rather than, really top major league level quality. And I think sometimes guys, at least based on what I've heard, guys have gotten drafted in the first round that maybe shouldn't have been drafted in the first round. They maybe weren't real first rounders, but the Giants, they kind of want to spread out their talent a bit, and what that leaves you with is guys that aren't ready to make a significant impact in the majors, and ultimately you don't get to the playoffs and you don't win championships. I think that's been an issue. Obviously there's a balance there. You could go first few rounds, that's all you can do, and then you're left with what? No production when you needed it as far as organizational depth. And their active roster too. We've talked about this. The focus of that is depth, but I think there's just a balance to all of this, but the Giants really do need to get some top level performance out there. I think that's kind of the bottom line. So I would say that that's all for today. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't, and you know where to leave questions and comments. I'll see you next time on Giants Baseball 101. Please come with a question. I will try to answer it. I'll see you next time.